Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion and review where the hosts of the What Do You Say Anime podcast nominate and vote on shows either we haven't seen or shows that will hopefully lead to a great discussion. On today's episode, the Shorts Under the Skirts hosts of the What Do You Say Anime podcast will be reviewing the 2022 anime original Lycoris Recoil.
マジはいはいはい千里が運転します私がしますなんでタキナ運転できんのかよ
Let's meet today's Lily Bells. First up, he was actually the secret love interest of Mizuki. Hiding in Vancouver, we have Jay. Jay, how's it going?
Hey, it's Jay, and we forgot to do a sound check. Ain't that cool?
Nah, we're all Gucci, man. Next up, similar to Mika, he also walks with a limp, but for different reasons. We got Kat. Kat, how's it going?
Yes, sir! I am doing great. I'm drinking a stout tonight. If you want to drink along with me, it's fucking
I have a ginger
get a
ale.
Guinness.
That counts.
Glad to have you, Kat. Our first moderator tonight, he is the Majima of the podcast, minus the green hair. We have Miles. Miles, how's it going?
You're a terrorist, Miles.
I'm like basically a cop, Pete.
Are you? You might want to check yourself next time you look in the mirror.
I'm going to talk about how this show should have been like way more based and about exploding the government. But yeah, good. You know what? Good point.
Yep.
According to this show, you are a terrorist because you're a cop, though. So, like,
I think you're misinterpreting the show, but we'll
I'm
get into
not.
that later.
I am not.
We have all come to the conclusion that you are. And our last moderator tonight, we got
You
Pat.
are.
Oh, well, I can't wait to defend this take because it's something that I've thought about a lot while watching the show, especially because I think that the main villain kind of spells it out pretty clearly. I think if you really dumb it down, I think it'll be fun. I also thought that you were talking about Kat being like what's his name with the limp. Like the obvious joke is right there, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, the joke was Cat has a humongous dick.
That is the joke.
Yes, that's
That
the joke.
is the joke.
Yes.
As we all know.
It also
Yes, there
helps
we go.
that one of the characters is also black.
Yes.
So,
That was the character
yeah,
he compared
that
you
was
to.
the joke.
Mm-hmm.
If,
I
if,
got a
it,
third
if,
leg,
it,
so I
if,
got a limp.
if it means anything, I put it past Kat before saying this, so he was aware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because to me, I was like, "Whoa, this is."
No, we're cool.
No,
The Mika
I
in the
do not
podcast because he's the only black person.
That's what
Cat.
I was. That's kind of like where I thought that joke was going, and I was like, "Oh, it should
No,
probably."
Pat. No, I do not need defending.
Yeah, all right. We're going off hinge already, but that's good. That's the way it should be. Yeah. So today we're talking about Lycoris Recoil, a show that came out in summer of 2022, so very very recently. If you listen to the podcast, relatively soon to our publishing. Yeah.
Our second summer 2022 anime in a row.
Was this also a Pat show, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, I did nominate this. Yes, because I wanted to watch.
It's one of the first Pat shows that's actually of this decade. Holy shit.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
It's going to be a Pat show
No,
that gets
you're
a good
boomer.
rating too.
It's gonna be a
which is
Pat
just
show that-
crazy.
yeah.
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 Wow, it's the first Pat show that actually gets a good rating and Pat doesn't like.
Oh well, we'll see if I don't like it because I definitely we'll have to talk
Really
about
a
that, too.
monkey's paw situation. Like the finger curled when you won on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. But all right, yeah. So let's do our spoiler-free first impressions. Why don't we start as always with Miles?
Yeah, so I knew about this show because it was like the hidden gem of summer 2022, and so I tried watching it in the summer, but kind of got bored, and so I was like, I'll watch this later. And then Pat was like, I'm gonna nominate it, and so I was like, this is a good opportunity to be hip with the zeitgeist, and so we watched it. I had a fun time. First 3 episodes, I still thought were like kind of boring, to be perfectly honest. But boring is like boring might be like too strong. Like moderately exciting, maybe. Just like not as exciting as I thought. But wonderful character design, lots of fun character like personalities and stuff. The world is pretty neat, and it has Neo in it, so that's cool. So I overall enjoyed my time with it. I'd probably recommend it. I don't I don't know if I'm on board with the hype train, or at the very least I'm at the caboose of the hype train. But I'm not opposed to the hype train. I just don't know if I'm on it. If that makes sense.
I think that makes complete sense. Because for me, I don't know, I just remember seeing the hype every week the episode aired, and people were talking about it a ton, whether that's in this Discord or on Twitter or anywhere. I definitely like went in expecting the world from this show because of how hyped people were getting from it, and I can see where you could have been. I guess for you being bored in the first few episodes is because it was a lot of slice of life in the first few episodes, so that explains why you didn't like it as much. I think that's very fitting. But yeah, Kat, what about you?
Oh, I loved this show during the first few episodes. I'm a huge slice of life fan, and then having that along with a little bit of action and spliced in between was just like it was like where I want to be for most of my anime, and just like I like at that point I was at like a 9 or a 10, and I was just having a time of my fucking life, my guy. Now the thing is, like, this show, it's not gonna be for everyone. At least for the first few episodes. But like as you get along, it's going to get to that point where this is like peak fiction. Fire. Just like the greatest thing you've ever seen. Like that's how I felt like past half of it, and I was loving it. I was eating this shit. I was eating it up. I literally had to pause halfway through it because one of my friends was like, hey yo, why'd you pause? And I was like, cause I gotta do shit today, my guy. Like, and I love this show, man. I cannot not recommend it. Like, it's a great show for me, man. And that's the bottom line.
Well, there we go. All right, Jay, what about you?
So, the first 3 episodes of the show, I really enjoyed. Okay, I'm gonna speak about it, about how I felt on my rewatch, actually, because I'm separating my rewatch from my original watch, and I will elaborate on that later. So on my rewatch, the first 3 episodes of the show, pretty good. The soundtrack, animation, all really solid. It does a great job of introducing you to like most of the main cast. Some of the main cast have more in these few episodes than they do in the rest of the entire show. Mizuki, she really doesn't do a whole lot after the first 3 episodes, honestly, besides say smart comments. I enjoyed it well enough. Like everyone else said, pretty slice of life, apart from a few, those action scenes that are really well done. And I enjoyed it. But there was something in my heart that felt kind of off compared to the first time I watched it. And I just want to say, I don't know. I'll elaborate on it later, but it's a very technically well-made show, but some of the themes, I need to see how they elaborate on them in the next season, is what I'll say at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
It's a little funny to be like this show being so popular because of those themes. Where especially I was like, really, this is the side we're taking.
I would also like to mention that for those of you who didn't watch this seasonally, this came out to date the show, it came out in the week that Shinzo Abe got hit with the doohickey. Keep that in mind.
What?
The first episode was the first week aired when Shinzo Abe was assassinated
by a Lycoris.
Oh.
A Lily Bell.
He would have been a Lily Bell.
Yeah, that's true.
He would have been. Yeah, he's a little old for that too, wasn't he? He's in his 20s. The guy. I don't know. Who cares? Let's not give him a platform. Pete, what about you?
Yes. For my visual listeners, I got my Lycoris gear on today. I fucking love this show. What I thought this show did great was setting the tone, setting the context of it immediately, where we had Takina wielding giant machine guns and Chisato being Neo from The Matrix. I knew exactly what to expect from the show, and that's what I got. So I'm glad they didn't strive away from it. I'm glad we got the ridiculousness that the show provided for us, along with just an incredible cast of characters where I can see why this show is so popular in Japan, why Kojima is rocking Lycoris Recoil gear during his web meetings and stuff like that. yeah, this show was an absolute treat. It was a whole bunch of fun. This is why I watch anime. It's the ridiculousness, the over the top of these action stories. I'm not looking for something deep, like, I don't know. I think we might compare it later, but something to like Psycho-Pass, where it has similar characteristics of a villain from there. And here, I'm looking for cute girls shooting guns, and that's what I got. So yeah, I would recommend the show to almost everybody, because I think there's a lot that you can get from, whether it's slice of life moments or action moments, or just having a great cast and a great story overall.
Yep, and I'd agree with most everyone's comments so far. I would recommend this to a lot of people as well. I think pretty much anybody that likes anime, because like Pete said, it does go very anime at times. Like it goes really all leans into the bit and the how unreal it is. I think there are so few things that this show does poorly in terms of like a production standpoint. I think overall it's really well made. All the character designs are awesome, and even though I got frustrated as I kept watching. I think I still enjoyed it, and I would still want to watch more. So I think that's five recommendations from the cast and from pretty much everyone else who I've talked to about this show has recommended it. I haven't really seen much negativity around it, other than the top Mal review is it reads really that might be in our Mal review game someday. Honestly, it's pretty. If you guys haven't read it yet, it's pretty great. The top review being not recommended. It's a whole plate of things to look at. But yeah, so let's move on to our spoiler section. So yeah, and this is pretty plot heavy of a show too. So I would say watch the show before listening to us talk about it. But yeah, so why does anyone have an initial talking point or thing that they'd like to talk about? I have stuff that I'd like to, but I think it's better later in the discussion. So like basically I'm talking about the ending and general. But Jay, saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's just something about this show. I feel like it would be morally wrong for the writers to not have Lycoris end up being shown for the evil organization they are, if that makes sense, at some point. Like with these extrajudicial killings and whatnot. I don't know. It's like a very uniquely Japanese, like right-wing kind of fear that, like, on the outside, Japan is so perfect, but underneath, it's a cesspool of crime and terrorism, and the only way it can be solved is by extrajudicial killings via schoolgirls and fucking Bishonen boys. Like, I don't know, man. Like, whenever I was watching this week to week, I was all for it. I was just enjoying the ride. But like looking back and rewatching, it's really kind of like weird how they don't kind of question any of the themes of that at all in the first season, I find. Besides for Majima, and Majima is like a crazy person.
He half-asses it. I completely agree with you on this. Like,
Mm.
it feels like it's
There's
setting.
there's a moment of triumph in the show. Like a moment of triumph in the show is when they say censoring of internet and social media data has begun, and there's like happy music playing and everyone cheers. And it's like, oh, okay.
It's almost like the it's almost
Are
like
we
the
the
American,
baddies?
it's almost like the American show FBI when they're like starting to do like shit like that in their lore, and it's like the most like American right wing shit that I've ever seen. That type of shit.
Yeah, that is. So this is Jay. This is my concern with the show too. That it seems to be like Majima almost asks the question, or like almost does something about, like, he asks the question and then no one else ever thinks about it, and they just stop him. And then it's just like, yay, we stopped him. And it was like, but was it good to stop him? Was it good that happened? Like, are we worried about this? And the answer was, nah.
We're worried about him coming back next season because he's still alive somehow after falling through glass.
They're like,
glass
if you forgot about it, it must not be important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's. I mean,
Oh, the Allen Foundation just gave him a whole new skin. Pat,
Yeah.
that's what happened. They're
Oh, is
just
that
like,
actually probably what happened?
you just have to murder people now, my guy. He's like, done and done.
I do.
It was just a Dead Space situation where they just gave him a new spine and all that. Like,
Yeah,
he's now suffering from cyber.
We can
psychosis.
rebuild him. We have the technology.
yeah. I mean, I've been joking that the moral of this is that like the Patriot Act is kind of cool, actually, but like that is kind of the moral of it, right?
if enforced by schoolgirls, the Patriot Act is good, actually.
Yeah, and it's the only guy who questions it is no one takes him seriously, and the entire thing is quickly swept under the rug, and it is viewed as a good thing. And it's like, Pat, I know you like take thing like his like terrorism is good thing, but that's because he views terrorism as the only possible way to like let the public know what's happening.
I disagree, though. I think he says that's well, in this scenario it is, but the things that he describes as terrorism are my whole take. I guess we are gonna just get right into it because I guess it is more interesting.
We'll be
anyways,
positive later on. The show has a
yeah,
lot of good things, but
the
let's get
show
into the theming really.
The show does have a lot of really good things. The way when I was watching it, all I could not stop thinking about was just that they are essentially saying that Japan, like basically society, but would rather believe that they're in a land of peace, right? Like that's what they're saying. Like like at one point he says, why do all of these Japanese people believe that Japan is super peaceful while there's still terrorism going on elsewhere in the world, and that these people need to be awoken to the fact that there is still stuff going on here. They need to realize that terrorism is part of life and something that is needed to oppose like government, or needed to oppose the who is in charge, which in this case is the HQ or the government. So like
yes.
That to me, that's the message of the show, even though the characters don't interpret it that way. Well, we haven't seen it yet, though, right? Well, we haven't, because at the end of the day, the show pussyfoots its way into a happy ending where the characters are all alive, and so is the villain. So we're gonna get more, right? And at the end of the day, that's cool because the show was fun to watch, but like it kind of also just said nothing because of this ending, right? Because it didn't actually give an ending. Go ahead.
Is that like I don't know? That is what Majima is saying, right? Like 100%. Like, he is saying that he's saying like the reason that these terrorist acts happen is because there is something systemically wrong, one way or the other, whether they're just or not. People feel that there are injustices happening, so they act out in this violent way. The government is, covering up all of the unrest, so people are unable to appropriately scrutinize the system they live in, because if nothing wrong ever happens, surely there's nothing wrong with the system, right? And so, like, if you just erase the flaws with the system from ever happening from the record, of course that's bad. That's his position. What the show does, I think, and you guys can let me know if you agree or not. I like to hear from, like, Pete, because I know Pete is all about it. So, like, because I think I don't want to get into, like, a me, Jay, and Pat circle jerk. Like, I do, but like after the episode, maybe.
Like normal.
Yeah. But like he asked these questions, and everyone's just like, we're gonna just stop you and not think about it at all. No one thinks about it at all. I can't remember a moment where Chisato is like, or Takina is probably a better choice for this particular thing because of how ingrained into like the HQ culture she is. But Takina's never like, is this wrong what we're doing? No one ever asked themselves that. The only person that ever has any, like that thinks of the system outside of the system itself is Majima. And like, he does all of this stuff to try to bring attention to that, and it just doesn't work. No one cares, and they stop him. And then everyone goes back to living their lives. And no one's like, but wait, is it bad that we covered up all of these people doing this thing? Like, is that a bad thing to do? No one ever asked themselves that question. I think. Am I missing that? Did that happen?
No, I think it's like, I think it has something to do possibly with just like, you know, when you're like a soldier or whatever in war, you like listen to your general, like, and people just like go along with like what the masses do, and that's kind of like what I was feeling from like Chisato and Takina, that they've been ingrained in this like Lycoris lifestyle their entire life, that they don't really question like what the authority is. Sometimes they like go behind their backs
Just
and say like, "Oh, I'm gonna go save like Chisato."
They're just
or
following
something.
orders.
Yeah, they're just following orders. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
So pizza
that,
Nazi, essentially. That's all we needed to know. Add that to the lore. There
but
we go.
with like when we did like our actual review on the show, like my biggest complaint with the show was Majima in general, just because I feel like he's not as grounded as a character as I think he should have been, where he has like this emphasis of siding with the underdog, and that what he is doing is because it's necessary, because the underdog like needs a hand, and if he's not going to do it, nobody else is going to do it. And I found like that really confusing, because like, what if the government was like the underdog? Would he then be like a government agent? I had like a really hard like questioning like the lines of where Majima was standing. But I think for the most part, I absolutely agree with what you guys are saying. But for me, this show is a buddy cop show, and that the focus is on the buddy cop, and that's like where my perspective lies on the show. So
Yeah. Personally, what I think is that when it comes to Majima, like, he legit said that he was going to side on the side of the underdog because they need a hand, like you said, Pete. But the thing is, that just makes him seem like he's just a vapid asshole. Like, he's just a dude that's just like,
he's devil's advocate to be devil's advocate. Yeah.
Like if the Mets are going down on the season, he's like, haha, I'll step up the bat. Like, you know, like, he doesn't give a shit. Like, he's just there to fucking have fun and have a good time. Like, he doesn't see like doing the things that he's doing is ruining people's lives. He's just doing it just to do it.
Yeah, especially if like, I know Miles has seen it, but like when you see something like Psychopaths with Makishima, who I feel like his morals and where he stands is very grounded, and makes it you sort of feel more for him on his side by the end of it. I think like that's what like a grounded character for like this type of terrorist character should be like. And with Majima, I just didn't get it.
I don't think it's like Majima's fault. I'm going to be perfectly honest here. Part of the thing about Makishima is when Makishima does his Majima stuff, people look at it, and if they agree or disagree with his point, they think about the problem, right?
But that's like, he's like incorporating like society into this, where this is like Majima is like specifically targeting Lycoris. I think that's the difference.
Here's another thing. Majima himself is like, the way that all of these are flowing together, it wouldn't matter to Majima, and that kind of entails that they just needed something that they did, like, for the people that were making the show. They had the concept, they had cute girls saving the world, all of that, and they needed a villain. So they had the most vapid villain that was there, that was still kind of like halfway cool, and like, they made Majima in a theoretical writing type of situation. He is the best villain for this, because you can't get behind him. Like, there's no reason to get behind him, but the way that they wrote him is that just from where he is right now, from like the situation of Japan's government, or quote unquote, it seems like he's doing something that's supposed to be there, but like, in the theory of what he says, he's not. And like, that almost in a way is like the genius of the writing of the show, and almost the downfall of it.
Miles, can I ask you a question about this?
Yeah, go.
Okay,
yeah.
So if we had like more backstory, because we're kind of with the perception that like Lycoris are killing bad people, essentially, like that. And that's kind of like how it's presented in like episode 1. If we had like more backstory to see if like Lycoris or Lilybell was like more corrupted, would that make more sense with like the Majima character?
So basically, I think that one of two things should have happened here, right? And you could go either way. Like, I don't think your buddy cop interpretation is wrong, but then I don't think you should have a bad guy who is trying to examine the evils of the system.
I agree.
You should just have someone who's
100%.
evil. Just
100%.
You should have someone trying to steal like old Chinese artifacts, like in Rush
The
Hour or
diamond in the
something.
museum.
Yeah, just someone
In
or
Rush
like
Hour.
or like
Wait,
or like a,
but
$1 billion.
that's Yoshi though. That's Yoshi though, not Majima. They fulfilled Yoshi's batshit crazy the whole time.
yeah. Well,
Fair.
yes. So like I mean, but like like have it like just be someone who's unambiguously evil, like a human trafficker or whatever,
Mhm.
not someone who's like trying to do something that's arguably good in the wrong way. Like that's a little too.
I would say that's Yoshi. Majima they're fulfilling different plot roles, is what I'm saying. Majima wasn't. You're trying to make him into the villain he wasn't meant to be written as, more or less.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I think that if you want to just do the buddy cop and not examine if Lycoris is evil or not, don't have a villain who's trying to say that Lycoris is evil.
Mhm.
And then not acknowledge it.
Or
Or
yeah.
not have them,
Yeah. I need them to acknowledge it in the second season or the light novel or literally just anything. Have them be a bit introspective about it.
They could have even had Chisato when she's sitting there drinking her tea with the dude, just like talk about it. He could, because he was talking about it to her, but she wasn't saying anything back to him about like, oh, why they protect this flawed system or anything. Like that's that's where I again, like I was kind of shit posting with my that the show supports terrorism, bit. Like that was a bit of a bit, but like I also do think though that it doesn't disown it entirely. It says I think the show says that it is a necessary evil and that it is part of, because that is terrorism creates change or brings attention to a cause. It
I
brings attention
wish
to
the show said that, but I don't think it does.
I don't.
No, it doesn't.
I think it says that, but then doesn't stick to it. I guess
Yeah, that's fair.
it doesn't believe it fully, and then it obviously goes back to, oh yeah, all things are good. Lycoris is here
Yeah,
to save the day.
and for the second part of your question, Pete, like Lycoris is killing bad people. Like that's true, but then also you have to think like Lycoris decides who the bad people
Correct.
are.
Yes.
We don't know a ton about what they're doing. We it's like like we live in a country that was founded by a bunch of terrorists, right? Like is going around and throwing tea into the lake and stuff. Like would they have been Lycoris off? Like
I did find it funny that the three people who live in New England are the ones who have issues with this.
It's like because like the French revolutionaries who overthrew the monarchy, terrorists, yes. Based as fuck, yes. Like, it's like terrorism is like violent, but I think that most people can agree sometimes you have to be violent against the system, and that doesn't mean it's always right to do that or that the terrorists are always right. But people don't just do terrorism for no reason, and when you're covering that up, people can't discuss it because they don't know what happened, so the attention isn't brought to anything, that no one knows that anyone else is upset. And like that is a major point of Majima's philosophy, and the show has him ask the question and then the show just doesn't answer it, and I feel like the show should. That's all.
That's another thing with that idea, drawing attention to like real life events. Anonymous, the hacktivist group, like they're a group that appeals to the public, that like shows a lot of these things and like shows governments what other governments are doing to keep them in check, almost like a checks and balances for the international interest. But the thing is, like Rabata, who is on Majima's side, Majima never says, hey, go to the public. Like, he's never like trying to do anything. Majima's just like, I'm gonna be on the underdog side. Like, he doesn't care.
I mean, Majima does try to make it go public at the end.
Yeah, they just cover it up immediately.
Yeah.
Like it.
That was my other major complaint. That like I know that the whole point is like, oh yeah, conspiracy theorists will start talking about it, but like the fact that what happened, it's not like, oh, this video that could be a deep fake happened. It's like, no, this literal murder spree happened in multiple places around the country, including the main watchtower. Like I don't know, like that to me, it's just like, oh, that's not too big to cover up, you know? Like I think it would have made more sense if the show decided, oh yeah, no, now people are aware of Lycoris or are aware that there isn't as much peace as we thought there was, you know? Like that would have been more interesting
Interesting
than
for season 2, right?
for
To see
season
how
2 to
the
me.
dynamic changes based off of that.
Right.
I think we have talked this point though, is unless anyone else has something else to say, I would like to I think we all liked the show, so I would like to be positive here. You know, I think that even the people who like the show more than the people who were complaining about this agree with the point. So, let's move on there. Our two main girls are great, aren't they?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you have a character where you could YouTube instant characters named noises, you know that this show is going to be an absolute banger.
リコリコへようこそ夢でもカリカリしてるのよやばい粉だと思ったでしょ
Especially Chisato in her sub, to me, has been the best VA performance of the year. I thought she was absolutely incredible. The range that she showed from her character, most of the time just that Genki get up type of character, but at the same time she also had her serious moments, and there's like one scene where she like pretends to be an old lady where I cracked up. This was just an enjoyable duo of a cast that I absolutely fell in love with, which is why I bought this shirt with my two main girls, Chisato and Takina, hanging out.
So one thing that I want to point out is Chisato when there's the Lexus LFA, which I know none of you are gonna get. It's the supercar that she's talking about in that one too. Yes,
Oh, Takina, I want to drive supercar.
And she's just like, or she's just shaking the fucking fence. That was hilarious, and like, it's one of the best bits of the show that I can draw back to. But like, she's just great throughout, and like her voice actor just put in so much fucking work. She had so much fun with that. Oh, I fucking loved it. You could tell that she was having fun with that character.
Yeah, I think we all had fun with that character. I mean, you know, when she wasn't murdering people, she was just a ray of sunshine. And she wasn't murdering people because she's a pacifist. So
Yeah.
Except for that 3% that you mentioned in
actually, they apparently Jay has informed me the J factor has come through and explained how the bullets work in the light novel.
Wait,
and,
what?
Yeah, and so they're not like rubber bullets, as in like our like anti-riot sort of thing. It like they're lightweight and they like break apart really easily, and so that's what that spraying was like for. So she wasn't. There are definitely less than 3% of people died from them.
Okay,
I will say Mashima might have died when she shot him in the head like 15 times.
No,
but
he's alive now though, so he's not. Yeah.
Whoa, he's not alive. We just haven't found a body. He could be dead. You know what they say? If you can't find a body, they're dead.
You know they literally show him in the end scene, right?
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah,
they show him like whispering, and he whispers in a guy's ear, and he's all wrapped up.
He's
in
got
bandages,
a bunch of bandages. Yeah,
but you can still see his green hair for some reason.
Miles didn't watch the last scene of the last episode.
I legit think I accidentally skipped the last 2 minutes of the show.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why
where they're in Hawaii too, right? Like, were you confused when I said that? Like,
yeah, no, I think there was like 5 minutes left, and I came in to talk to Pete and Galaxy about it, and then I think I forgot to watch the rest.
Oh,
of it.
there you go. Yeah, so basically, someone has one of the like missing guns, right? So that's gonna be the plot next thing. They're gonna be recovering the missing guns, and one of the guys is sitting there like, oh my god, do I do it? Do I do it? Do I like go on a shooting spree basically? And someone whispers in his ear, and it's like, go do it. And it's Majima wrapped up. Yeah, do it, pussy. Basically, yeah, do it, pussy. And then he runs away, and it's just like, it's so. Really, he lived that? Like, come on, like you know, like I don't know. I think.
Does anyone die in the show? By the way.
Yes.
Well, yes. A lot of people get shot.
Sorry. Does anyone who's not a red shirt die in the show?
Yoshi.
No.
Yoshi. Yep. Okay.
Off screen, by the way.
Well, they
Yeah.
take his heart and give it to
I
Yeah,
know.
the secret
Chisato.
third heart. The
No.
secret third heart. It's coming in season 2.
They should have shown. They should have shown them gutting him like a fucking tauntaun or something like that.
I don't know. They even
Where's that
depress the
heart?
bullet in the they cut away and it's like you just see the flash. It's like I
I
don't know.
thought Yoshi smelled bad on the outside.
Yeah. There was another Star Wars joke. I almost made a good soldiers follow orders joke earlier too. So maybe the show is just Star Wars. Who knows?
The Star Wars prequel.
I mean, the red shirts have the aim of stormtroopers. So maybe this is just Star Wars. We'll never know. So I don't know, because we were being positive for a little bit. I want to be a little not negative. I feel neutral about this because like part of the enjoyment of the show is how ridiculous it is, right? And how fun Chisato is being, like you said, Neo. I haven't actually seen The Matrix, but I know Neo's the main guy, right? Who can like
I can dodge
bullets, whatever. Dodge. Does he actually say that? Okay, it's not just the scene that he
Yeah.
does it in. Okay. So again, sorry, I whatever. That is like, oh, it's fun, but it's explained, right? Or they try to explain it. I think that's the big thing for me. Is like when a show tries to explain something, I can suspend my disbelief better for it. So they explain that she has like a better heart. So that explain, and also her reflexes in general are just like top of the whatever. Just like how in SAO Kirito is the best because he just has the best reflexes. That's why he got the skill, the double sword skill. They tried to explain it, so I suspend my disbelief for that. But then like the hacker man's bullshit that happens sometimes in this show, where it's literally it feels like you're watching Western TV where you're just sitting there and they're they've got the little nerd sitting at the cop, zoom in, enhance. That's the meme. Enhance. But like even then, just sitting there typing away, and then you see like what crypto bros envision as Web 3.0, where it's like you're literally I'm going into the mainframe and then coming back out like that. That shit drives me nuts in any sort of show like this because you can keep it kind of real without making it so ridiculous. And they don't explain like the hacker bands yet, at least. And then like the other big thing that my suspension of disbelief, especially with covering up that scene or that the big incident so seamlessly or so effortlessly. I mean, of course, who knows? Maybe in the second season, that'll be part of the plot too, is that they're like dealing with the repercussions of this event beyond just the lost guns, but also with an uprising socially where people are saying, oh, we're calling bullshit on this, where we don't believe you. We don't, whatever. Like maybe they can pull that back in the second season. But for now, that is such garbage. There is no way, no matter how peaceful you think society is, no one is that naive. Not a whole society is that naive. And yeah, okay, conspiracy theorists will pick that up. But like, I mean, they showed the general public just buying it immediately, being like, "Wow, that was really elaborate." Like,
so are we
like,
talking about nice things about this show right now?
Yeah.
I do
like
like
you
said.
QAnon, JAnon, if you will.
Yeah.
I do want to say, like, I thought the hacking camp stuff was kind of fun. Like, it was such horseshit that I knew they didn't really care if I took it seriously or not.
Too.
At one point, she looks in the reflection of someone's eye, extracts that image, and enhances it. So, like, of course that isn't real. Like,
right.
She does, like, measure the air molecules in the room so I can figure out what, like, the sound is. And
The
it's
reflection
just,
in the eye thing has happened in real life before. That has literally happened to people
so that's
before.
why I liked that part. It's happened where you can see like off
you
of
can see
something,
like a sign,
you can see a landmark or a sign. Yeah, but you can't zoom and enhance it.
You
like
can't
what we're saying,
extract
right? Like,
the image and enhance it.
Yeah, but they also
and then take that image and go, 10 years earlier, magically, and not only 10 years earlier, but it like piece by piece goes back 10 years.
Yeah, that was some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
I mean, I don't mind it though. I think it's fun and campy. I agree with you, Pete. Like, I think that like
I just think it's not bad when you take that into consideration and then add like the Hollywood or anime aspects to it. Like,
I agree. I think it's like extra, but in a fun way.
Yeah, the difference between this and like say for example, Hawaii 5-0, where they have the hacker dude in Hawaii 5-0, is like this is meant to be like, hey, we have this like 12-year-old girl that's able to fucking hack the mainframe of everything. Like
You don't know if
dude,
she's even
like,
12 yet.
she's
We don't
30.
even know.
Exactly. Like
Yeah,
she's
she's a-
just
No, she's
And-
30.
What?
Kurumi
fuck?
is 30 years old.
She's not
Oh
actually
my
30.
God.
She has an ID that says. Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, did I miss when they said her age? Because
She
to me,
claims
it's
to be
like
30.
well,
He
that
claims
was
to be
it-
30. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, this versus that, like where this is like, fuck it, dude, we don't give a shit. Like that's fun. But like in Y5O, they're like being so serious about it because all the hacker guys are always like on the enemy team and they're just like reject modernity, return to monkey, like that type of shit. Like it's just boomer fodder. Like that's what I think it is.
It also.
Sorry,
No.
Kurumi's age. Apparently, she's listed as part of the adult team. It splits between the children and the adult team. So she's with like Mika and Mizuki as the adult team.
Is that
And
because
they-
she's a
And
cyber
the
terrorist?
ID and the 30-year-old thing, they don't say she has a 30-year-old ID. They say the hacker known as Walnut has died multiple times in the past 30 years.
No,
Oh, okay.
no. It's
Oh,
when
wow.
they're at the bar
at the
hotel,
bar.
and
She's
then
like, "What are you
But
talking about?
they also say he's died multiple times over the past 30 years
They did
whenever
say
they're
that.
protecting him.
But of course, that
It could mean
Walnut-
she either took
Yeah.
took over for him or
Right,
she's
that-
30 years old. It could be either one. They're
Walnut
kind of
could
leaving
just
it
be
open.
an ideology. They could be anonymous. Oh.
Maybe we're all Walnut.
Whoa.
maybe I'm Walnut.
Maybe the real Walnut was the friends we made along the way.
True. Hey, how did you guys
Oh
feel
my
about you know how the show kind of started off more actiony based and then kind of transitioned into slice of life cafe owners? How did you guys feel about like those instances in between, I guess, like the beginning and the end?
Like the cafe stuff? I
Yeah,
liked
the
it.
cafe,
Yeah.
buying underwear, that type of stuff.
Well, I
I
thought
liked
the
it.
buying
That was
underwear
nice.
was a little.
I thought
it
that
was,
was kind
it
of
was
funny.
it was like a notch too anime for me, but in general, I
Yeah.
did like that stuff. The only reason it's one notch is because I actually do have a female friend who in college her friends saw her underwear and then they took her underwear shopping because she was wearing like frumpy underwear and they were like, you can't do this. So there is some realism to it. So
Yeah,
so
it was
it's only like that one notch above it for me.
for me. It was just like, oh, this is like, So was I laughing the whole time watching? Probably, yeah. Like I was enjoying it because it was like decent, it was good slice of life. Like it was fun, but to me, it was also just like, can we get to the point? Like let's move along here. Like let's keep the story going. I guess is where I was sitting. And again, like, does it have like, did they choose underwear because it's funny or because like, oh, it helped them tell their narrative, or did they choose it because they could get away with the panty shot joke, or could do like the anime thing, talking about girls' underwear or whatever? Like, you know, like that's where it was just like,
I do think it helps
come
with
on.
Takina's like thing, because like her journey into like not being a robot girl, right? Like that's a thing we've gone across in anime and other media many a time. But I thought I don't even know if I thought, okay, I liked where she started and where she ended. I don't necessarily know if they like did the journey correctly, but I liked her character, so it was fine. But I do think like that slice of life stuff was there for Takina. That was Takina's story. Chisato's story was like, you know, with what's his name and the foundation and all of that. And Takina was about like learning to not be a murder doll. And like we get to see her do that in like the aquarium, which I thought was a great scene where she's just like Sakana. So
That was great in the dub, by the way. The dub did a really good job of, I think, as well. Like, for one, doing the Chisato noises. I was hearing them in the dub and in the sub. Like, it was
good.
pretty great.
What is? Does she just say?
Fish.
I am a fish, or like fishy, or something. She
Oh,
does
okay,
something like
yeah.
that. I can't remember exactly what, but it was something like that too, where it's just like goofy, like
Yeah.
and then I'm in you, like that.
Yeah.
Again, that was so well done in the dub.
Yeah.
I gotta say overall.
I sort of like that, and I mean, okay, this is like another thing that like the show sort of does and doesn't necessarily fully commit to is like the effect that being in this organization has on these girls, right? And like their mental state. And like Takina is like a very big example of that, where we see someone who is so invested in this, so desensitized to violence, and how she's able to like overcome that a little bit by forming a friendship and being able to like regain human bonds that she might not have been able to make because she was literally just a murder machine. And it's hard to form human bonds when you're a murder machine, over through these slice of life bits. So I don't even know if they don't help the narrative. I do think they help the narrative. They just like help the other main girl's narrative, not the interesting terrorist plot narrative, but like the being human narrative, if that makes sense.
Jay or Kat, did you guys have any like particular like slice of life moments that you enjoyed, or if you did not enjoy that aspect of the show?
Yeah, I enjoyed the slice of life aspect of it quite a bit. I would like for them to kind of go more into it in the second season and have it be. I would like maybe a break from dealing with the organization and more of like dealing with like the troubles of that, like people, like action parts, but from outside threats rather than like the org or Majima or anything like that, and just give us some like introspection or something like that about the previous season, because like a lot of shit happened. Like they should realistically be having to process that in some way, and yeah, being in Hawaii helps, but you still got to mentally talk about it and deal with it if you're a literal like child soldier like they are.
So we know that it's confirmed that they have a light novel that is selling off the charts. It is taking place after the events of this in the light novel. So for you guys, for a season 2 or for like an OVA, would you guys just be down for them having like a cafe only anime? Kind of like what the dinner time with the Amelia family or whatever it is for Fate has? Is this something that you'd be interested in watching?
So I'm happy at leaning on that side. I think that there are definitely ways you could have them utilize their abilities as super hyper assassins. And like fun ways. It doesn't need to be like a Japan saving threat or anything, but like maybe a scene where someone like tries to rob their diner or something, like, and they can do like whatever, like that could be fun. But I do think the show shines in these lower stakes slice of life moments, and it sort of doesn't execute the bigger, grander scheme things as well. So yeah, I mean, I would love that. Jay, you look like you have something to say.
To expand upon what I meant, I don't mean like quite a lean into slice of life as in like doing what you said, where it'd be more or less like a spin-off, if that makes sense, almost. I more or less mean like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched Archer, but the downtime stuff in Archer, after they get like raided by the government and they have to be more of like a mercenary group, and they're just like dealing with like being broke and stuff like that. Like I'm thinking more of that sort of stuff where they're dealing with like small time like criminals and stuff, and people underestimating Chisato as they always would in like because they're in America now and stuff like that as well. It would also be interesting to see them maybe take the food truck on a road trip across America. I think that would be awesome,
That'd be
seeing them
so
go through
fun.
like Texas or something like that.
I don't know where I'd stand on that. Like, because the show is really fun. I enjoyed the slice of life because it probably wasn't all entirely slice of life. Like it was fun. You'd go to the cafe, you'd see their regulars or their customers, whatever you want to say, and then you'd move on. You would move on to the rest of the story or whatever was going on whatever given day. But also without those scenes, it would kind of be tough because the show would be hard. Well, it would be harder to watch because it would be more like plot heavy and I don't know, just hard to watch because it's you have to pay more attention. I guess I yeah, hard to watch, but I don't know. I think I like it the way it is. Honestly, as much as I complained about, well, I think my complaints are stuff that you can fix without changing the structure of the show or without changing the the slice of life to drama slash plot ratio, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just think it would be interesting to see like other parts of the world besides Japan to get like a view of how they're doing, if that makes sense. Like give us a
Mm.
bigger view of the world to see like what caused Japan to act this way, cuz like if Japan is acting that way, you already know the NSA in America is up to some fucked up shit. Yeah, I don't know. Even something like a Lilybell spinoff would just to expand upon the world would be sick. Honestly, there's a billion directions they can take this franchise. Honestly,
Yeah,
Well,
There ain't a market for a Lilybell spinoff, and you know it.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So not only a Lilybell spinoff, just like I will commend them for doing this too, because whether they meant to, that's the question. Like before they produced the show, did they know, or maybe not? Like, did they plan on this ending? The episode's 13's ending point. Did they plan on this, or did they realize 5 episodes in, oh, we can turn this into a franchise if we just do X, Y, and Z? And did they then do that, or was it the plan going into it? Was it okay? This is where we're gonna end, and if the show is popular enough, or explodes in popularity like it did, then we can turn it basically into the next Fate, franchise with literally endless waifus. You can literally make as many Lycoris as you want, or late Mary Bells. Sorry, Lily
Bells.
Bells. My brain not working.
No worries.
You could do that. That's a whole. Well, for one, that's a
Oh
whole
my god,
show. But then
they can
that's
make a bullet hell gotcha game.
yeah. There's a lot of things that you could do. There's a lot of things that you can do
Hire
with the
me.
franchise. It's very impressive. Like the amount of they left a whole world
Yeah.
open.
I think they
Yeah.
left it open-ended on purpose, because if they didn't, say it wasn't a success, it could just be like an open-ended ending or whatever like that. But if there was success, then they could like kind of go on it. Just for reference on how many pre-order sales the light novel has, before the light novel even came out, it would be the second highest selling light novel this year. And it's not even, it's out now, but at the time of when it was coming out, it wasn't even out yet, and it was the second highest selling light novel.
It's needed to be reprinted twice.
Yes, it's insane. I think they expected some level of success, but this
Not
is
like
like a new
this.
franchise in our eyes. This is, I'm not gonna say this is Fate, because it doesn't have a gacha game yet, but it's going to be something similar to Fate, I believe, where we're going to have like 5 light novels and 4 mangas and 7 spin-offs and 13 seasons of Lycoris Recoil. It's incredible just seeing this in its like infant stage, essentially.
The writing's on the wall, I think, for it to be Fate. Like I think personally this is gonna be the next big, like, because it's relatable, or not relatable, but it's Western enough for Western people to want to play it and be involved with it in the same way that Fate is, because Fate has so much mythology and other like ancient history and lore tied to it. I think because I think that that's part of what opens it to the Western world more than like something like, I don't know, let's say
Oh, I
Pride
would
of
say it's more along the
Orange.
lines of huge tittied waifus.
Yeah, but having that alone isn't enough, because
Is it? Is it not?
because otherwise it would have been done a million times by now, I think is what that's more my
Wait
point.
till you
Like,
see how many gacha games there are out there.
yeah, I know, and how many of them are successful in the West compared to Fate, compared to other things in general. Like again, Pride of Orange didn't take off. Princess Connect, Big Titty Girls and Princess Connect, that show did not take off here in the state, or the game did not take off here in the States. Like I think versus this one, it's a lot easier for them to tie it in to Western themes and stuff. I guess we're getting pretty deep into this. I have one more complaint that Miles totally just sparked by sharing an image from what appears to be the manga.
It's the light novel.
Yeah, was it the light novel? Okay.
Yeah.
There's no manga, yeah.
There's a manga.
Oh, yeah,
actually.
sorry, yeah, it's
There
getting
is,
adapted now.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was the manga, because it looks like it. But yeah, it is the light novel, isn't it? This show Yuri baits a lot. It frustrates the shit out of me.
I think
because
Yuri baits a medium amount.
I mean, it does. Yeah, it's not as bad as, again, it's not like, I don't know.
Kageki Shoujo levels.
Not Kageki Shoujo. You're thinking of something that isn't Kageki Shoujo? Revue Starlight?
Revue,
Shoujo Kageki Revue Starlight?
Revue
Yeah.
Starlight, they all canonically get together, just not in the anime. Because the anime is not the final product. They all canonically end up together.
I was just
Hibeki Euphonium. That's
literally
okay. That's how you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
that's the
okay,
one where
that's
I just,
fine.
Yeah.
Put some
like-
respect on Revue Starlight.
Well,
though.
I'm
Yeah,
just.
sorry.
It wasn't Kageki Shoujo because she has a boyfriend. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
like from episode 1. So
that didn't
yeah.
matter. Whatever.
Well, but
Hibeki
either way,
Euphonium,
anyway,
they're like, she's like actually playing with the bottom of her lip. Like that's like, hey yo, I want you to be in this bush real quick. Like
no,
that's
well, yeah. She says she's hot and one. Anyways, that
But
show Yuri Bates
either way,
everywhere.
again, that show. Okay, so it's not that level of that, whatever you want to say, but I do think that this show does it a lot. When you're just make platonic friends not do gay shit, like make them be normal, like
Normal.
not normal. Okay, okay, sorry, normal for what?
Friends, normal friends,
normal for
friend
what
behavior.
friends do. Sorry, yes, no, that is not what I meant. Obviously, I hope.
Okay.
But
I
yes, that's
got you.
yes. Today will
You're
not be
doing
the
that
day
tightrope.
that I come out as homophobic. There may be another day, but today is not going to be that day. But again, so my point being though that the show like makes them just do things that it's just like, oh, will they?
What about
Maybe they will.
Mika and Yoshi? How do you feel about that?
Mika, well, they were.
They're
I
just
think
straight up gay.
canonically, I believe
Like-
they're gay, which it's like, but yeah, but they did it. They actually showed it. I'm pretty sure, at least. But that scene of them in the hotel room, both in bathrobes, like that was kind of like the writing on the wall where that was about as
Little
close
bit,
as you
huh?
can get with Japanese media, like mainstream Japanese media, where you can that's about as close as you can get to saying that they're gay without actually saying they're gay and then getting kind of canceled.
Yoshi was getting it.
What I was trying to say though, yeah, is like they show that they are okay with having non or homosexual relationships in the show. So either commit to it and do it, but like I don't know, like the entire rest of the show, their conversations, the way they talk to each other, and this is both in sub and in dub, their conversations come off as very platonic, friendly, but then they also do the jokes every once in a while. The haha, maybe I am. Oh, what are you gay? Like that. Literally, what are you gay? But like, oh, why are you concerned? Oh, do you like men or do you like girl? Like they do the bait thing, and I don't know. At least to me, it comes off as bait, and it frustrates the shit out of me because it's like just let people be gay or don't.
I think it's
Don't
a little nitpicky.
toe the
I
line.
think it was pretty fun with the dynamics that they had with each other. That Chisato could kind of tease Takina a little more because Takina had a harder time like expressing herself, and I really enjoyed that aspect of their relationship, whether it's Yuri Baiting or not. I was a fan of kind of like how that dynamic worked.
It could still happen too.
Oh, for sure,
Right.
they could definitely.
I mean, if they're setting it up, I will say I think I subscribe to Pete, and I am loath to give him credit for anything, but
I never miss.
Pete has this general theory where like the first 3 episodes of a show are just to hit as many demos as fucking possible to get everyone who can get on board for the show on board with the show. Which is like, I think the first few episodes of this are way more Yuri Baiting than like the rest of it. I think they just sort of like drop that aspect after like the aquarium scene and they're like, we're just friends now. And there's like some moments, but it's nothing that would make me like, I don't know, go like fight anyone or anything. But I think they wanted to get like, like the Yuri demographic is like thirsty. They need content. There isn't a ton of it out there for them in anime form. And I think that's why I have a friend who's a lesbian, and the fact that they even just had a man show interest in one of the characters from Witch for Mercury made her pick up a pitchfork and like apparently an entire subsection, because I just think they're sick of being baited. But I do think they get baited because you get them on board with the show. You get those viewership waiting for the potential Yuri romance. But then they just kind of drop it because they already have the views.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mirako-chan being ecchi for 2 episodes or whatever for some reason.
Yep.
And then it just stops doing that.
Yep,
It's like,
that's
oh,
weird.
we got you in. Like, yeah, I guess like it's like mildly annoying to me, but as far as Yuri Bait goes, I feel like it's like a 3 on like the 1 to 10 scale. I mean, Hibeki Euphonium exists, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just like orders of magnitude.
I can agree with that. I think it's closer to like a 6 on the scale. If Hibiki Euphonium's like a 10, I think that's like somewhere in the 5 to 6 range of just like, yeah, I don't know, just sack again, especially because they show it in other ways in the series, like existing and being.
Yeah, I mean,
normal.
I agree. Ultimately, like, and it doesn't need to be every end, but like, just sack up and do it. But then you need to remember, the people who did Yuri on Ice had a censored kiss that they had to fight tooth and nail to keep in the show. Like,
yeah,
you know, and they didn't even like they couldn't even show them kissing. They had to have something between them kissing, like, and like you don't even get straight couples kissing a ton. Those get edited a lot, like or like blocked or whatever. It's really it just has to be some sort of cultural thing that I don't understand, you know. But like
Homophobia, you know.
well, not even like I mean, part of it I think is obviously that, and then part of it is that they just don't like ever confirming relationships super hard, even in like they censored the Shikamori kiss. They've been dating for like a year in that. Why? Just show them kiss.
Yeah.
It's one thing I give Toradora credit for. We get to see Taiga and Ryuji make out for like 35 seconds, and it's awkward, but at least they kissed. So, spoiler alerts for Toradora.
Wow, come on.
If you haven't seen Toradora at this point,
I haven't, but I wasn't listening. Don't
Okay,
worry.
fantastic.
All that matters. All right, let's do closing thoughts. We'll throw our best girl and best boy.
This is interesting. Real quick, who do you guys think has more favorites on Mal, Chisato or Takina?
I think
Chisato.
Takina does.
Takina, because
You asked the
Western
question.
weebs have shit
Correct.
taste.
I was just say it'd probably be Takina because he asked the question and because
Sato doesn't have more favorites.
because Ray's a waifu. Ray's a waifu that exists. So of course,
Ray
Arguably.
was invented to criticize people for liking characters like Ray, and then everyone liked Ray.
I know, isn't that crazy? Fucking weebs are the worst, man. But anyways, yeah, that's very interesting, Pete. That I assume that we're right? That just somehow.
Yeah, Takina has like 100-ish more than Chisato.
That's wild to me too. I mean, I like
Takina.
Takina's arc. I like her a lot. I just think she basically becomes closer to becoming like Chisato by the end of it. You know, like that's her growth, is that she gets closer to Chisato, which, you know, would make Chisato the more fun character. Whatever. Anyways, let's do our closing thoughts, final scores, and all of our usual shit. Miles, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so something that I want to talk about, that scene with Mika at the end where you find out he's just been faking the limp, is like the hardest fucking thing in the entire world. I got so hyped. For me, that was the hypest moment of the entire show, because like I was waiting to figure out what happened. Like it was like a really interesting thing to me about like how he went from who he was to this guy with the limp, and they like subverted my expectations in a super satisfying way, and like I really liked that. Something that we really didn't get a chance to talk. I don't know how I guess we like talked about the themes and stuff a lot, which is like good to do, but like technically the show was fantastic. Choreography, amazing, beautiful choreography. The fight scenes were fantastically directed. There was just a lot of really cool stuff that the show did. You know, yeah, the show might say fascism is okay, but I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 anyway. Chisato is my best girl, and Mika is best boy.
All right. Kat, what about you?
This show was a treat for me, honestly. So from like what Miles said, Mika faking the lip the whole time was amazing. He is Yasuke. He is what Yasuke the anime should have been, and like it was just a great show all around, from the action in the beginning, the Yuri baiting, the going through the middle with the slice of life bits, and even getting into the end with the climax and the actual action and drama sequences. They were so good. It felt like I could not stop watching for the whole show. And I finished this show for the first time in the first week of nominations. I loved it. I genuinely could not get enough of it. And
so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Thanks, Happy.
No, in fact, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
That is okay. Yeah,
this show was so fun to me. Like I love this show. It's not a masterpiece, but it's damn close. And that is what I would that's what I would say.
Fair enough. All right. Jay, what about you?
By my list to know what I think are just some pros and cons. Pros: the OP, ED, and soundtrack are all super good. The character designs are fantastic. I liked the way that the characters interacted with each other overall. And I also just enjoyed like the general art direction of the show. The color palette was really well used, lighting, animation, everything was it was a very very well made show technically. I think that the big con I have here is that again, I really wanted them to have at least any kind of introspection about the themes of the show. It feels like I don't know, like I need them to do that in the second season very badly. But I can't, just hope for that. So I got to take some points off for what I feel like is kind of a lack in conviction in the themes overall. So I'm going to give it an. I'm gonna give it an. Give it a 8 out of 10.
Yeah, all right.
Ooh,
8.
that I was like, okay, because like a 7 is a J6, so like I was like, damn, like I. Okay, we got you at the 8. If you want to change your mind, I'll let you do that at the end.
No,
Because
I
that was
think I'm
hard for
good.
you. Okay.
I think that's fair. We keep him at an 8 unless he changes his mind before we finish recording. But Pete, what about you?
Yeah, I thoroughly love the show. I think it's how you guys viewed it a little bit more technical than I did. What is perfectly fair to me. From my perspective, I viewed this more as like a buddy cop show. I wasn't trying to dig deeper into the thoughts of I was called Makishima again, Majima, and like some of like the surrounding elements. I was honestly I was here for the ride. I love the cast. It's kind of like how people love One Piece, where they can like fold origami and poop their pants if people think it's peak. This is sort of like this cast can do anything, and I would love it. And that's where I was. My favorite scene I want to point out when Takina beat Chisato in rock paper scissors. I thought that was. I mean, I had the biggest fucking smile on my face. I love that scene. And Jay might hate me for this, but I think I like the ED more than Call of the Night. I love this ED. I think it's incredible. It's one of the best from the year.
It's good, but not that good. Good, but not
I
that
know,
good.
I know. Don't hate me, please. But
I don't hate you.
the show was a blast. I enjoyed every second of it. I loved looking forward to it every week. I'm giving it a 9. Yeah, I love this.
A 9 already. I think I'm somewhere in the middle of all this where I really am glad for one I'm really glad I finally watched it because enjoyment for me in this show was 10 out of 10. Like I could not put it down once I picked it up. The like we've all talked about the soundtrack and then all the technical aspects, A1 Pictures, as I've kind of come to expect from them when they actually put their effort into a show, they killed it. Like they completely again, fight scenes were good, slice of life scenes were good. Usually you get one or the other. You don't get both, right? And you got both with this series. Again, the voice acting from both the dub and the sub is really good. Character designs are wonderful. I also just the themes, man. Again, that can be rectified with more content, but I don't think it ever will be. I think they will continue to kind of like take this open-ended answer because that allows them to sell more things and go different
Yeah.
routes and do more things, which is frustrating. Because yeah, like I don't know, the whole idea from from the start for me is like a world with no crime or with no terror. Like how cool, how great would that be? How perfect would that be? And like then they could have gone and explored that and said, well, no, it's not perfect because there's still this going on. But then they don't. And like, oh, who's who's gonna be the judge? Who's the police in this situation? Whatever you want to say. Like they just don't. They don't examine that yet, and that's a really big problem, I think, with this show. I think it's the main problem among a couple of the other things we already talked about. So I think I'm going to give this show an 8 because I think I enjoyed it enough to keep it up this high. And again, technically, I think it deserves this kind of score too. And I look forward to more of it too. I'm going to watch it. Probably will start watching it weekly when it comes out because like that's how much fun I had with it. Whenever we get Lycoris Recoil Stay Night Heaven's Field Butterfly the Third, Junior, X Hunter. There. We so yeah, that's our review of Lycoris. Let me based off my math real quick. Let me just
8.4.
Heavens feel out of 10.
Yeah, we have a flat 8.4 at so that's a pretty good score for Lycoris. I believe that's probably top 15 or 20 in terms of shows that we've
Let me tell you
watched.
right now.
But yeah, while Miles is looking that up, normally we voted on shows to watch for the next meeting, which would be on October 31st on Halloween, and then we realized, shit, we're a week behind. We meant to do spooky anime. So what we're gonna do instead, through the magical power of editing, is basically we're gonna nominate 5 shows, and you're gonna see these shows next, or in the next watch club, already voted on, already decided on, rather than whatever show ended up winning the votes this week. But why don't we find out what show did win this week? And Miles, why you can tell us that after you tell us first what ranking Licorice
It
got in the grand scheme
it
of things.
is tied for 15th with Sunny Boy.
Nice.
Not
Ooh,
bad company.
Same boy.
There you
better,
go.
though.
Yeah, and right ahead of Made in Abyss. Um,
Ooh.
There we go. But all right, yeah. So what won the voting for again? So we'll watch the winner of this week will still be watched. It'll just count. We just won't nominate something at the end of the Halloween
Correct.
episode.
Yes.
What are we watching for the 14th of November?
Sure. So in third place we had Haibane Ren Mei.
Nice.
In second place we had a tie with Space Dandy and Link Click. And in first place we had, and I have to thank Pete for putting this out on Twitter, because who knew Twitter loved Millennium Actress as much as they did? We have Millennium Actress.
Yay!
Sweet. So we have an entire month to watch a movie.
Yes, you have a month to watch Millennium Actress.
So there we go. But yeah, so let's talk about what we're nominating, though, just for fun, just so people can hear us give our little spiel. So Miles, what are you nominating for our Halloween themed episode? Which again, last year we watched Dorohedoro, which had the horror tag, but we like to stretch our definitions of horror and spookiness. It can be anything. What have you got for us?
Yeah, so this one for sure has horror in it. I am going to be nominating Miyako-chan. So that was a seasonal from last fall, I believe, and Pete has said it did a wonderful reversal,
Yes,
and I
it
would
did.
like to see that reversal. So that is my spooky nomination.
That show really came out a year ago. Holy shit, it did. That's crazy. That feels like it was 6 months ago.
You're getting old, Pat.
Time flies when you're
So-
having fun watching anime.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Kat, what have you got for a nomination?
So what I've got for my nomination isn't necessarily a horror, but it is apparently seinen. And that is
Wait,
Interviews with Monster Girls.
was
Yeah,
you,
it's
Ken.
seinen.
Yeah, so it's Monster Girls. That's where it comes in to the horror, or well, again, the spooky vibe. So there we go. Interviews with
Yeah.
Monster Girls. That's a wild show from what I've heard.
It's so fun.
It sounds like at least some fun. Jay, what have you got?
So mine isn't really horror at all, but I feel like it does tie into the Halloween theme of witchcraft and, just general holiday, like the holiday themes. I'm nominating the first two, or the two Little Witch Academia movies.
Okay, there we go. We got the witches again. I'm interested immediately. Yeah, that's all you had to say. Pete, what about you?
I'm gonna nominate a show that I didn't get a chance to really go deep into on another anime podcast, so I'm looking forward to talking about this. If it wins, I am going to vote for, let's keep on the Satoshi Kon train, Paranoia Agent.
Okay. The Satoshi Kon podcast strikes again. And lastly, I'm gonna throw up the best piece of zombie media I've ever consumed, and that's High School of the Dead.
What about Zombieland Saga?
One that actually has them killing zombies. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
Okay.
Zombie Slayer.
Zombie slaying
Yeah.
piece of media, yes, or one with a zombie outbreak. Maybe is an even a better way to put it, right? Like with an actual
So far.
post apocalyptic. True, Miles. That's true. Yeah, we haven't seen the adverse effects of Zombieland Saga yet on the society that they live in. We'll have to see in the movie once the aliens get involved, right? Crazy story there.
Okay, High School of the Dead.
High School of the Dead. Yeah, let's watch some zombie slaying action. I can't wait. But yeah, so I think that'll wrap us up there. And thanks for joining our session of Watch Club. Pete, why don't you close us out?
Yeah, if you want to support us, the best way to do so, like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you are watching or listening to us on. Next week will be our group QA question episode. I'm looking forward to doing that. Otherwise, if you are here for Watch Club, we will see you in 2 weeks for... What are we watching again?
We don't know
we
yet.
don't know yet. Yeah, for our spooky episode. So thanks, and we will see you next time.